So my name is Joe McKenney, and I'm currently a realtor, but my background is entrepreneurship. That's my career field. I'm an entrepreneur. I've owned many different businesses, mostly in the hospitality business, restaurants, taverns, family entertainment centers, a large amusement and gaming route operation, that type of thing. I made a career change a couple of years ago to being a realtor. So as far as political office, I served 4 terms in the Montana House of Representatives, 1999 through 2007. So a bit of history. Politics sometimes changes. I'm a Republican. I served as a Republican. Back at that time period, I was the only elected Republican residing in Cascade County. Now it's the opposite. And it will turn again. That's history. So my work and education experience is 4 years, United States Navy. I served on an aircraft carrier, advanced electronics. I was a flight deck troubleshooter. Very dangerous job. Once a month on average, someone died. For real, right? An accident, for real. After I got out of the Navy, 4 years, used the GI Bill, went to University of Montana, and then took a job in Great Falls a few years ago, 1981. A few years in my book. So I'm running for re-election, right? And that goes back really to my time in the military and seeing the world. So there's 2 reasons, right? There's the big global reason, right? What's the global reason? And then if you get elected, right, what's on your agenda? So let's answer the 2 questions. So the global reason is I had no idea how blessed I was to live in this country. I saw many other different countries, including communist countries. Man, we're it. We're it. And I made a promise to myself, always be involved in the community, be in business for myself, be a volunteer, maybe someday run for public office. So that's the big reason. Okay, so now what's the smaller reason, right? What are the priorities in Great Falls? So we have an incredible amount of momentum going on. I've served for 4 years on the city commission, running for re-election. An incredible amount of momentum. That didn't happen by accident. That takes visionaries. So my background is entrepreneurship. That means being a visionary. Part of being a visionary is how do you get to yes? And so we've made that mind shift with city government. There are things we need to work on. More housing, public safety, economic growth, but the momentum is incredible. And I'm running for re-election to keep that going. So the top priorities, and it takes time, but we have this momentum going already. So more housing of all types, housing units, from affordable housing to apartments to workforce housing, like you name it, we need all housing. Great Falls didn't do anything wrong, right? This is a national crisis. But I can't be concerned about Chicago and New York. I have to be concerned about Great Falls. We have made amazing progress. In the last 4 years, this will surprise a lot of people. We have approved, the City Commission, we have approved, or we have in the pipeline, about 3,000 housing units. That's a big number, and we want to keep that momentum going. As far as economic development, we're seeing the businesses spring up all over town. Small business, that's critical. Medium-sized business, that's critical. Primary sector business, that's critical. And we have over $2 billion that has happened in the last few years or is being discussed, being developed in our community. And then the third is public safety. We have a challenge. We don't have enough police. We don't have enough firefighters. We need to work on that. We've made some progress. There's more work to do. I'm not going to say you should vote yes or you should vote no, but I am kind of disappointed it's on the ballot. Why am I disappointed it's on the ballot? I got elected by the people of Great Falls to make decisions. The things that are on the ballot are the things that have to be on the ballot, in my opinion. I'm not getting elected to pass the buck. I feel like the buck got passed. That was our decision to make, what we do with fireworks, if anything. So quite frankly, I'm kind of disappointed it's on the ballot. I don't know how else to answer that question. So affordable housing. So we need all types of housing, right? It's not just affordable housing. It really comes down to a mindset. And we're going down that road. You know, I said earlier in the interview, we've approved nearly 3,000 housing units in the last few years of all types of housing. So what's a mindset? So I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a private sector person. So when someone comes to me, I have to be friendly and have to try to resolve the issue and sell my goods and services. That's a mindset that we have to change in government. And that mindset is very simple. How do we get to yes? And we've done it. We've done it in all levels of our city government. And that's why we're seeing the momentum that we're seeing. So public safety. So we had a public safety levy a few years ago. I was part of that. I approved putting it on the ballot, and it went down in flames. So again, I'm going to go to being an entrepreneur and being a private sector person. When something goes down in flames, you look back on it and you say, what did I do wrong? What can I do better? Because most people agree that public safety is important. So we did something wrong. And I'll tell you what we did wrong, like looking back on it. It was a top-down decision. This time, as we take another look at public safety, it needs to be a bottom-up decision. We need to get more community involvement, more community advocates, and we get to that point, then maybe we can look at possibly another public levy. So homelessness in Great Falls. I can remember being a child, 14 years old, building a tree fort in a different community, in a different state, many years ago. You can tell, 14 years, when I was 14 years old, that was a while ago. Within 2 weeks, a homeless person moved into my tree fort, okay? It's not new, and it's very challenging. And part of the challenge is mental health, part of the challenge is addiction, and part of the challenge is some type of trauma. Those three things generally lead right to what we're talking about as homelessness. So can elected officials and can the city commission solve that problem? No, we can't. But we can be advocates, and we can help the private sector, and we can help those who are experts in that field to get to where we need to go. And so that's the best way city government can help, is to be advocates and open the door for the experts. So I've been in Great Falls for a while, and 40-something years. And for most of that time, to my disappointment, it was stagnant. It was relatively stagnant. In the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen the growth, right? Great Falls has arrived. There is a lot going on, And part of that is what I talked about earlier, right? How's the city commission get to yes? How are we a friendly environment to business? But part of that too is then working with the business stakeholders and helping those folks attract business to Great Falls. So when we say attract business, let's just change that word, right, to jobs, right? Business is jobs, and that's what we want, jobs of all types. We want primary sector jobs, we want medium type business jobs, we want service sector jobs, jobs of all types. How do we get to yes? And we're there, we're growing at a very acceptable rate. That's a hard issue, right? So put my private sector hat on. When I'm providing a good or a service, I have to buy goods and services. So I buy goods and services, it costs a certain amount of money, and then that price gets passed on to provide the goods and services. Government's the same way, okay? We don't have tar plants, okay? We don't build trucks, right? We have to buy these things. We don't build pipes, right? We have to buy these things. And so when the cost of goods and services goes up, first we do is look at efficiencies, right? Is there a better way of doing this? And we've been doing that for decades. Then the next part is, how much of that can we pass on to the consumer? So you can call it a taxpayer or the person that pays the price. So how much of that can we pass on to the consumer? And if we can't pass it on, what goods and services do we cut? So do we stop building roads? Do we stop repairing roads? Do we stop repairing pipes? We have to find that middle ground that is acceptable to the community, and it's not easy.